Shalom Chaverim. I had a lot to speak about tonight, but I think I'm going to have to shorten my comments. I have other speeches I have to give tonight, and I'm running about 2 hours late. So I'm sorry for this, but that's the story of my life. When I came home to Israel, I suddenly realized that the country or the government that I sacrificed my life to didn't exist. It was a very cruel dream. Actually, it turned into a nightmare. And now I find myself in front of my brothers and sisters talking about a young man that I never dreamed I would be defending in this country. Not because he's unworthy of it, but because I couldn't believe that our country would do such a thing to an innocent man. Amiram and I have a lot of things in common, and we have some significant differences as well. Our commonality starts with the fact that we both love the land and people of Israel. And that got us both into trouble. Amiram because he happened to live in the territories, and me because of what I did. Amiram didn't do anything except live in the territories and conform to a certain type of Jew that both the Americans and the Israeli government, including the current one, including the current prime minister of this country, would like to use as an example of moral equivalency. The Arabs have terrorists, and we have terrorists. And Amiram, unfortunately, was chosen to be, well, the sacrificial goat. Our differences are actually less important than what binds us together. He was accused of a crime he never committed. I was accused of a crime I never committed as well. But there it stops. For 6 weeks, I was tortured. My back was broken in 4 places, my ankles were broken, my knees were broken, my wrists were broken, and I have a plate in my head. And I have 100% disability right now. If I don't take certain medications, I can't walk, period. I cannot walk. Amiram also was tortured. But the difference between us was I knew what they were doing, because I had basically supervised something like this myself up north in Beirut. So I knew exactly what they wanted and how far they were willing to go. Amiram did not. As far as he was concerned, this torture was going to continue on and on and on. The problem right now for Amiram and where he's staying, I'll explain in just a minute, and how dangerous it is. I spent 7 years underground, 150 meters underground, in a 3 square meter cell. I never came out of it for 7 years. I never saw anybody. I never had a radio, TV, writing privileges, visitation, nothing. But again, I knew what they wanted. And with the help of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they didn't get it. Now, in the case of Amiram, he is not a trained intelligence officer. So he really didn't know what was going on during that torture session. So now he's been in this cell for almost longer than I was in mine. And I know a lot of people have asked me, why are they keeping him there? Why? And there's a very simple reason. Here's a young man who knows he admitted under torture, doesn't matter, but he admitted to a crime he did not commit. You cannot imagine the kind of pressure, remorse this puts on an individual who knows that he was forced to admit to something he never did. And this works on somebody. And I'm speaking from the standpoint of a practitioner, from somebody who used to do this to people. So I know exactly what they hope will happen. So there are two objectives to keeping him in this cell. One, so that he can chas v'shalom commit suicide out of guilt for admitting to a crime he never committed. Or two, agreeing to anything just so he could get out of there. And what that something is dropping all appeals, just being quiet. And it's a real problem because he doesn't know how long he can hold out. And the one thing that's working on him right now, and again, I'm speaking from the perspective of somebody who did this to somebody, well, a number of people. There's a time clock. There's a watch. Everybody has one. And I don't know how long he can hold out before he either agrees to give up and do what they want, or chas v'shalom, something they really want. Which is why I've been pushing very hard to get him out of that cell. The fact of the matter is, both Amiram and myself were used against our own people. The Americans wanted to use me as a weapon against the American Jewish community and Israel. In Amiram's case, the Americans have made it very clear, and unfortunately, our government, including the one right now, with exceptions, of course, for Bezalel and Itamar and maybe one other,